Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to open this Polk County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's May 19th, 2026. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Extra agendas are on the back table by the door. And first up, looking for comments, not on this agenda. Would anybody like to address the board? Let's move on to the next one, approval of agenda. So moved. Second. It's been moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Motion passes unanimous. Approval of minutes from May 5th, 2026.
So moved. And second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Court security update. Won't you, Kim? And we'll be judging. Come on up here to the table here. Yep. Judge, would you like to join?
Just the hot seat.
Pull up chairs.
That's why I brought you back up. Okay. So please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Judge Campbell.
Uncha Kim, Trial Court Administrator, Polk County. Well, thank you for inviting us here. Judge Hill is unavailable, so we'll have someone even better, Judge Campbell. So this is Courthouse Security Pilot Project. And I can only speak as to the last few years that I've been here, but I understand that even prior to my arrival here in 2021, the court and the county were looking at potential security issues and how we can heighten awareness of the potential threats and find a way to secure the building for the benefit of everybody who comes to this courthouse, including the court patrons as well as the county patrons. So in 2024, OJD, at the request of OJD, was allocated a one-time special funding of $2 million to be spent statewide for court security purposes. However, that particular funding has certain limitations associated with it, one of which was not to be allocated for additional staffing. We could purchase equipment, we could enhance systems, things like that. Obviously, without security screening personnel, any type of security system is going to be not as effective. And so one of the things that we did here locally was to check with the granting authority from the legislature as to whether or not we can contract for services and will still meet the legislative intended requirements of not utilizing the funds for personnel purposes. Anyway, we went through that vetting process the last half of 2025, and it was ultimately approved by the Chief Justice end of last year for us to move forward with the contract services of security personnel. Equipment obviously was not an issue because we could purchase without any issue. It was more about resources that are needed to man the security screening. So after we got that, we went through various efforts, including communicating with the Court Security Committee, which, by the way, is established through the ORS. And that was the county and local sheriff, bar member, as well as the DA and the court. We had some unofficial conversations, but actual official meeting took place in March and then again in April. And all through the process, we have dealt with other matters that were necessary to make this project implementation, including identifying and purchasing equipment, contracting with the DPI Securities who would provide the screeners at the location. And so we're pretty much done at this point. Contract was fully executed. It's in effect. It's going into implementation effective June 1. It's going to run through end of next year, June 30th, I believe, the contract ending date. Equipment was delivered yesterday. And then, let me see. Oh, and the folks who sold us the equipment will be out here sometime next week to calibrate and do the maintenance service of the jail security equipment. It's the same folks who sold us that equipment. Will be providing some training for the equipment that was just delivered yesterday. Although this is a county/court building, one of the issues that we struggle with over the years is how to segregate the courthouse business from the county business. And I think it was ultimately decided and determined that it is not feasible to segregate without some considerable inconveniences and cost and time and effort that's needed. And so the courthouse-wide, building-wide security was really the most effective way. And through this process, what we're hoping to accomplish is to provide better, safe environment for both the employees of the courts as well as the county, elected officials, and the residents to conduct businesses within the courthouse building. The second goal of the project is to be able to generate sufficient data that we can take it to the legislature in upcoming legislative session, which is coming right up, to request and obtain permanent funding for this project to come off of the pilot status and become more of a regular business. Statewide, there are a few other counties or courthouses that are going through a similar pilot. However, I want you to know that we're the only court that's actually getting funding for the security personnel, which is the bulk of the actual cost, because the equipment cost obviously is one-time expenditure, and other than maintenance cost is a sunk cost, it's not repeating cost. However, personnel cost of manning is recurring, and it is quite expensive. And so our effort is going to be focused on convincing the legislature with the adequate data why this is so essential for Polk County Courthouse and the residents that obtain the funding. Why courthouse security? I think that we all know that the violence and potential threat to both the relevant and irrelevant folks that are frequenting the courthouse is quite evident, not just here in this county, not just this state, but really nationwide. And I think that it's incumbent upon us as the public body and public officials to provide safe environment for all of us. So there's some local examples as well as statewide examples that Marshall's here to share with you. And we collect this statewide in each courts. And Evan, if you can kind of share with us what more recent data for the commissioners.
Hello, Evan West, Chief Marshal.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Evan West, Chief Marshal,
Marshal of what?
Oregon Judicial Department.
Thank you.
So Unsha did a very good job of kind of describing the pilot project that we're doing across the state. So we got $2 million to try to increase entrance security in courthouses around the state. About 17 of the counties currently have entrance screening. We got 7 additional counties put into this pilot project. Those are Coos, Curry, Grant, Harney, Jefferson, Polk, and Clatsop. Like Unsha said, only Polk got this kind of enhanced level of where they're actually, there's funding for private screeners. So the other ones, the sheriff's offices are utilizing their resources to staff those machines. In all, it's been pretty successful. Most of them are rolling out in June. Clatsop is already up and running. What we've seen where we've rolled it out in 1 week, despite signage saying no weapons are allowed, and in statute, no weapons are allowed, firearms were seized, 31 knives were seized the first week. And when I say seized, actually, a lot of times it was just returned to the vehicles. But were discovered, pepper spray. And so just,
Statewide?
sorry,
Is this statewide or the?
this is 1 week and one in Crook County.
Clark County.
So we know weapons are coming in. We have incident reports for this very building of weapons coming into the courtroom, including firearms. So we know they're coming in. We just don't know on what level, and we don't know what their intent is. Is it just somebody carrying that forgets to take it off, or is it coming in with malicious intent? We want to collect information for the legislature, and so that will be part of what the private screening company will be doing. They'll be doing incident reports every week, collecting all the information, so we can take that back with this uniform kind of picture of what's happening. Threats are increasing nationwide. Every state is experiencing it, and it's not just judges, it's all elected officials are experiencing an increase in threats across the country. In Oregon, we've been tracking for just judges and courthouses, and we've seen a 400% increase since 2021. So it is up astronomically. So we have a threat management unit in our office that we track the threats that come in to judges and courts, and we work with the sheriff's office. Polk County has their own threat assessment team. But Jen in our office, the deputy marshal assigned to threat management for OJD. So we've had, I believe, 10 threats just against judges here recently. We have 2 ongoing investigations that we are managing currently. So even with just a few judges, they're getting multiple threats. Any one of those could escalate at any time, and not knowing what's coming into the courthouse is a serious security risk. It's the number one thing we could do at this point to further protect the courthouse. There's a lot of secondary measures, just more staffing, armoring of benches, securing transaction windows. There's all kinds of security measures, but the most beneficial thing is just stopping the weapons from coming in. Any questions?
So you said 17 counties before this grant,
Yes.
okay? And of those, and 7 new ones under this grant. Is that what you're saying? And how many of those facilities look like this one?
Look like this one.
Yeah, not by appearance, but just by operations. Clearly, we're a combination facility, you know, with a public administrative building at the front door.
Yeah, many of them are multi-jurisdictional use. So many of them have county offices, DAs, sheriff's offices, courts. So that is the vast majority. There are a few where it is simply just a court structure, like Jackson, but most of them have multiple agencies working out of them with various elected officials. So this is the pretty typical one. This combination of buildings with the multiple entrances and just kind of configuration is a little bit unique in that sense, but they're all unique in their own way, but often the makeup is the same, the DAs, county offices, courts.
A quick question for you, Evan. Am I understanding correctly that the purpose of allowing Polk to contract contracted staff is OJD's intent to use the data from this staff environment to request additional funds to expand that model to these other 7 counties or more counties? And then my other question is if you could sort of explain to the public what the value added safety outcomes are to have those staff members and what the other counties, especially the newer counties, are doing in terms of security absent staff.
Sure, absolutely. So yes, so Polk, so of the 7, all of them had about 125,000 kind of divvied up for just equipment and stuff of that nature. And then there's a little bit of money left over for other systems that we put in, camera systems, duress, access control. So some of the money was set aside for that. But Polk is the only one getting the screening staff for a couple of reasons. Some of the other ones in the pilots, the sheriff's offices, were just able to pick up the screening. So that was great. We understand that Polk cannot do that. We also identified that Polk, of the counties that do not have screening, has an elevated level of risk just with the threats that are coming in, things of that nature. And so it made sense to see if they could be the one that receives this one-time private security screening. It wasn't completely straightforward. We had to do a little bit of research to see what the legislative intent was. But we're not directly hiring the people, their contracts, so we were allowed to do it. But it is a pilot study within the pilot study to see. Part of the contract is we need clear statistics so we can show what exactly is coming in and then present that back to the legislature with the intent of receiving additional funds to not only maintain the pilot program, but ultimately expand the pilot program as the funding allows. We know weapons are coming in to the courthouses that don't have it. We have counties very nearby where we've had situations where someone slit their throat in open court. Just last year, someone was in court, probably looking to commit suicide in front of court. Sheriff's office determined when he started tapping the gun under his shirt that he had a firearm. They saw it on the cameras, went down to the courtroom, took him into custody there. But there was no screening. Both of those incidents would have been stopped long before they ever made it into the courtroom. And it's really just because of the quick reaction speed of the sheriff's office that those didn't end much, much worse. And so the measurable levels for what ultimately comes down to a couple of screeners and a few minutes of your time is keeping everybody safer in the building. And where we've seen screening just like outside of courtrooms or limited screening, that does help, but it doesn't stop other stuff coming into the building. People planting a firearm in the bathroom, people bringing in an explosive device. So while it does move the needle a little bit, it doesn't make us safer in the sense of they'll just adjust. If they can't get into the courtroom, they'll just put it somewhere else in the courthouse. And so I think the screening for the value added is well worth it, to your point. Did I cover all the topics or did I miss one?
I think so.
Okay.
So Evan, first, thanks for driving out today and for this presentation. You mentioned a 400% increase in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
What are those numbers? I mean, where did it start? Where, how many incidents back in 2021 to how many today?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did I include that in here? No, I didn't. So we started at about 20 in 21 and they've gone just up to, I want to say about 81 for judges. And then it kind of tracks along with the courthouse, the general threats that we're going to blow up the courthouse or once directed more at staff, somebody in family law. And so they went from maybe 2 a month to there's not a day that goes by we don't get one. Sometimes they're repeats, but I mean, that's almost Jen's full-time job is just managing these threats. So they're going up. They range from, ones that are just kind of freedom of speech, upset people to ones that are very serious.
Okay.
So I have concerns about the staff that are going to be a part of this security contract. So is this the appropriate time to ask that question? Yeah?
To the extent that we can, we certainly will ask.
Okay, well, we'll have to figure out different words for that because to the extent we can, it's probably not going to be adequate. I have concerns about, again, you're putting authority on people at the front door we have zero control over. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much control the court has. And who will supervise these people, who will discipline these people, how we correct mistakes that are made to the public at the front door. Those are my concerns. These people aren't a part of our employee package, so we have no HR oversight over these folks. And so that is a huge concern to me. But I guess first we start with how much authority are they given?
So DPI is the company that we contracted with. And this is a security screening company that provides similar service to a number of other agencies as well as other locations of OJD, I think including the Supreme Court. The company itself, as I understand it, was founded by a former law enforcement officer and that person is the president of the company. All the employees who work there have gone through extensive security screening background check. I cannot vouch as the individuals that's going to be stationed here because I don't know them yet. I have not yet met them. I think they're scheduled to be here this week for on-site visit and orientation. But contract terms, if you're interested, I will be more than happy to share copies of the contract for you to review.
Yes, please.
Yes.
I can add on a little bit. So, yeah, they are the most widely used private security screening company we see in government in Oregon. The Oregon legislature just introduced screening a couple of years ago at the Capitol is using DPI. So they are kind of what we see and we work with the most in the courts. The screeners themselves, this is all they do. They're not law enforcement. They run screening equipment. If they find something, if there's an incident, they call the sheriff's office. They are not law enforcement. They do not go hands-on. They do not do any law enforcement function. They are screeners. That is their sole job. And so they have their own individual supervisor. Then ultimately, day to day, they'll report to the TCA and the sheriff's office. That is the lane that they stay in. They do not, their job is customer service and screening, and that is what they are trained on. How to be nice to people, point them in the right direction if they're going somewhere, and make sure they're coming in safe. They don't have a job duty outside of that. And so in that sense, if there are incidents, yes, it would obviously be corrected. They're in a lot of courts. They are not looking to disrupt relationships. It's very important to them to keep, they're under a statewide contract with the state of Oregon. So they do not want to risk that. And so, but if there are any problems, that would absolutely be dealt with.
So nobody here is supervising these contract staff.
So it's my understanding that there will be two persons assigned to our location. One of the two is at a supervisory / lead status. So that person will be supervising the other person. If there are any day-to-day issues operationally you see as a needing correction or change, just let me know and I can deal with them directly. Any security concerns that they're handling inappropriately, let me know and let the sheriff know, because these folks will be working very closely with sheriff staff in terms of enforcing what's considered a potential threat.
Okay. So how much is this grant?
Excuse me?
How much is the grant that's coming to Polk County?
So far, we've spent a little over 200,000.
You've spent. How much is the grant that's being given to the court in Polk County?
So the $2 million grant was one-time funding for statewide utilization. And so I believe there's still some funding left from that $2 million. We spent 200,000 and whatever other cost that's going to be needed for the next 13 months will still come out of that funding. We don't have an exact number yet. I can only tell you what we spent so far. And we anticipate there will be other expenses. I don't imagine there will be a huge amount, but whatever that is, OJD will fund it.
I can give you I can expand upon that a little bit. So so it's $2 million was the starting piece. About 200,000 of that was set aside for end-of-life replacements on the systems I mentioned, the cameras, terrestrial, access control. 1 million was set aside for the 7 pilot courts. And then 800,000 was set aside for all of the other courts to work towards their screening, either whether they have it already or other systems to get closer to be in the next phase of the pilot. And so within the 7 courts, that 1 million is kind of split up, but Polk is getting more than the rest because the DPI contract is 130,000-ish. So they're getting all of the other stuff, the backbone stuff, the screening stuff, and then additionally, the screening contract piece.
So you said that this ends June 30th, 2027.
Yes.
So assuming, I mean, again, I know you're hopeful that the 2027 legislature does something. We are always hopeful. But if it doesn't happen, then what's the plan?
So actually we considered that, and I looked at our numbers very closely, court's budget. I can't guarantee at this seating that we will be able to fund. However, court is completely open to exploring funding this if necessary from our general budget.
Okay. And is it intended that the security will operate on days that there is no court?
I think the contract is structured so that they're only working on non-legal holidays. So if it's a legal holiday, they will not be working.
Okay, my question was about days there is no court. You have no court days that are not necessarily on a legal holiday.
That question.
Okay, so if there is no court in session, I mean, I've seen weeks that there's no judges here. Or days there are no judges here. Will the security be operating on those kinds of days?
Yes, although sometimes, I think at least once a year, we have judges going on a conference, educational conferences out of town. However, even those days, the court is actually running. We do not run on full schedule, but we do have criminal courts going. By statute, we have to have a criminal courts going.
Okay, so again, back to your original answer, the security will be here every day that
Yes.
isn't a legal holiday.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I guess my final question is, who can we direct the complaints to?
About,
Anybody that has a problem out here that is engaged with security that wants to complain, because it's easy to get to the commissioner's office, not our circus.
I understand. You can certainly direct all of them to me.
Oh, okay. That's all I have.
Thank you for being here, Unsha. One of the purposes of inviting you is to allow for a public conversation so members of the community will understand the whys and what they might expect when they come to the courthouse when this is implemented. I do have a couple of just little administrative questions. Will employees still be able to use that entrance without going through screening? Is there a badge saying, hey, I work here? That's one question. And the other question is during periods of high traffic, jury duty, things like that, folks coming in just for a, going to the community development department or to pay their tax bill or to see a commissioner, will there be kind of expedited procedures to make sure that we're following safety protocols and getting people in the building efficiently?
So as it's currently structured, we're anticipating that everyone will go through screening if they choose to use the main entrance. If you're an employee or authorized accessor who's got a key card access, you can always utilize those employee access, so you don't have to go through. Law enforcement officers with proper credentials can bypass the security screening as well. As far as high traffic days, based on our volume of folks that are coming through this building, we do not anticipate long line of folks. Like before I came here, I worked in Washington County on jury days. You had 200-300 people lined up outside wrapping around the building, and inclement weather and what have you was not very convenient. However, they still do that. We do not anticipate that here. I think that on jury days, we open the door at 7:30. And by the time the main traffic arrive around 8:30, most of the jurors are already upstairs. So we don't anticipate bottleneck. However, if that happens, we can certainly have another discussion.
Will the court security committee be meeting after
Yeah.
implementation just to check in how things are going?
Absolutely,
Okay, great.
absolutely.
Great. Thanks.
Questions? Anything else?
No.
Thank you both for coming. Thank you too also.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to point out one other thing. I think this is something that was noticed by anybody who comes into this building, myself included. When you come through the main entrance, we do not have a triage or information folks directing the traffic from the main lobby. Just this morning, I came down to look at the equipment, and there was a gentleman going back and forth, looking at the screen, trying to figure out where to go. I think having these folks at the front, even though they're security personnel, screeners, they can easily direct these traffic and point them where to go. So they're not, inadvertently going through the hallways and going up and down the stairs, going into the other elevator. And so I think there will be a benefit that we did not necessarily consider when we first considered this project, but I'm sure there will be other benefits. I think that we all realize it might be a little bit of inconvenience, but I have to share with you that before I came here to Oregon, I worked in Florida court system for a long time. Back in the 80s, probably some of you are even too young to be born. I was a court clerk in Miami courts and criminal court. Until that time, actually, there was no courthouse security screening anywhere in the United States, as far as I know. In my court, during the hearing of some heavy-duty criminal defendants, one of the audiences turned out related to one of the defendants stood up, pointed the gun at the judge in open court. And I was a court clerk there. And 3 of the armed robbery defendants escaped. Ultimately, they got caught, but that experience have caused a major concern throughout the United States, courthouses and similar buildings. And that's what caused the courthouse security to be implemented everywhere. Although we have not had that type of incident here, I think that Lynn County was one of the courts that experienced something pretty similar. While it's very easy for us to think that that'll never happen here, we don't want to see whether or not that's actually going to happen. I think that prevention is probably worth a lot more than what we're putting in terms of a little inconvenience and some additional funding. And thank you for inviting us to be here, and I'm here if you need anything.
We've had a lot closer than Florida. We had a incident happen in the courthouse upstairs, probably longer ago than I think it is, but I'm thinking 3 or 4 years ago. It was a divorce, husband and wife got in a row upstairs. Deputies came and cleared it. And 6 hours later, she was dead. He killed her. So we were 6 hours from that happening in our courthouse. I haven't talked to our current sheriff about this. I talked to our past sheriff about this. And you talk to any expert and they'll tell you it's not a matter of what, it's a matter of when. Something's going to happen. And so we either get ahead of it or we don't. And I know you folks are no nonsense, but I also think you know that we're also no nonsense. And if there's some nonsense going on, we're going to stop it. We're not going to put up with anything that's untoward. You wouldn't put up with it, and neither will we.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that's important to note, and I know you get this, is that this is a very dramatic, fast change in how this courthouse has been operated. And there will be a transition period where there will be a lot of very angry people. Fortunately, we're not doing this on tax day. Because you would have an office full, because I'd help them get there. It really is a concern for us about, it's more than an inconvenience for some people. Again, we've allegedly had these conversations in your committee about contractors and, workers that are coming in here and so forth. There's a wide diversity of folks that will be subject to having their pockets stripped, and having to make explanation and holding other people up in the line, and so it concerns me when we have a hands-off position where we're hiring an outside contractor who doesn't answer to any of us about how we take care of all of our constituents. So that's where my challenge comes from. And I hate change, probably the worse than most people. But I'm completely in agreement and understanding of all this. Of course, I would put on the record that, like you, Judge, I likely have as many concerns about stepping outside the door of this building than I do about being in the building. So that is always a concern to me as well, and we can never completely solve that. So my concern is simply when somebody encounters a TSA-like individual at the front of our courthouse or administrative building when they're coming in to pay their taxes or go to see a community development planner, that they can encounter those challenges. Now, if they're carrying a weapon, sorry, I'm completely on board with that. There's plenty of signage, and I know it's happening. I absolutely know. We have constitutionalists that are saying, I have a right. So I know they're doing it, but the people I may know aren't necessarily the people you're encountering. So those I don't know, we don't know. So I'm on board with it. Like I said, I just want to make certain that we're all accountable for the process that we put our constituency through when they're coming into this building to get help and services.
If
We
it makes you feel any
understand.
better, I've been going through TSA a lot here lately because my son's down in California competing and we've been going to watch. And if they act like they're TSA here, I'm gonna have a big issue with it.
Good, thank you. I appreciate that because I think most of us do know what that is.
And I don't think anybody upstairs feels any different than that.
Yeah.
So next time they tell me not to take it out, but to take it out to the next place, I'm gonna go. So I understand that, and I wouldn't like that, and I'm sure the other two judges, I'm positive they're on the same page with that.
Yeah, I want it to,
If they're acting like TSA, there are gonna be some changes made.
I want it to flow smoothly, and I'll take the marshal's word for it that, you know, and Uch's word for it, that they're, you know, highly regarded people, et cetera. And that it moves smoothly. And that people don't encounter a gotcha mentality or a macho mentality that makes it difficult to get in the door.
I'll make sure that that message is loud and clear to our personnel who's going to be working here. And this is like anything else. It can continue to evolve. It's not set in stone. Obviously, this is first time we're going forward with this. I'm sure there'll be many tweaks that we want to consider. And please feel free to bring it to the judges or to myself or even to the security committee members. And we will discuss it. We will be meeting periodically.
I think the other thing is, I would tell you, and not that it's a fault anywhere, but I've never seen any minutes or notes or anything from your committee. I have no idea what all was taking place there. Until we got an order handed to us, we were not up to speed here.
Okay.
So please share data with us. I mean, these folks are keeping, I mean, not them, but DPI is keeping track. And there's a data set that is being published. Hopefully OJD will let the Board of Commissioners see it.
Right.
So it would be nice to know what we're tracking and how it's going along, because eventually you'll likely need commissioners to help lobby for the money. So it would be helpful to get information.
We
Understood.
should have been doing that.
Yeah, understood. We will be taking minutes going forward and we will share that with the entire commission.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up, day?
Brings us to non-listed items. And I see Public Works.
Morning, Commissioner.
Lauren,
Morning. We have a couple of non-listed items.
let's just start with no. Or just start with no.
Snows all around.
No.
Make it easy.
So last time we were here, we got concurrence to issue our notice of intent to award contract. That was for asphalt paving and for striping. That started a 7-day clock for a protest period. That 7-day clock has ended. There's been no protests. So with your concurrence, we will proceed forward and send the contractor the documents to sign, and then we'll bring it back for a Wednesday consent calendar.
Aye.
Second item is, we were approached a while ago by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services out at Basket Slough regarding a culvert under Crowley Road and, sorry, Covell Road. They are, yeah, Crowley for one. They're doing a fish passage restoration project through Basket Slough Refuge. And there's a culvert that we have that would not meet their criteria for fish passage. It's an aged culvert. It's in pretty bad shape. There's been no failures of it that I'm aware of to date. So it's due to be replaced. If we were going to replace that ourselves, you know, my first answer would be, you know, bump the size by 50% and set it down a little bit deeper so that it's got a natural bottom in it. We met on site with ODF&W, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, last week. ODF&W made it clear that that approach would not be acceptable for them and that we would need to meet their fish passage criteria, which is the channel width times 1.2 plus an additional 2 feet. And so there's kind of an odd channel out there. It's all man-made and it's going to continue to evolve to be man-made. But the takeaway from that is that the opening width at ordinary high water, they would like to be, it's going to be 30 to 40 feet. So U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wants a bridge because it looks more consistent with their whole passage project. And they've identified a grant that we could apply for. It's a Federal Lands Access Program grant, just like we did it out at Falls City a few years ago. That one is 100% this time around. There's no local match. And so it wouldn't cost the county anything but our administrative time. I'm still uncomfortable, with us putting in for that grant to put a very expensive bridge on something that would be a very low priority to us otherwise. If they came to us without the grant and said, we need you to replace this and you need to provide fish passage, my approach would say, dig it out and close the road. It's just a minor road. It can be accessed from either end, or make it a public use road, and then Fish and Wildlife Service can do what they want to with it. So just wanted to put that out there, let you know, because we are proceeding forward with the grant application. We were going to say, okay, well, maybe we need to do a box culvert that's a little wider, something like that. There are exemptions and waivers that you can apply for through ODF and W. I don't think we have time to work that process now. So we were moving forward with the grant, but I didn't want to come in and surprise the board with, a grant for a project you're not aware of and that seems pretty overkill. And I spoke with our FHWA liaison yesterday, and he said it would actually improve the chances of the grant if it was a joint application between U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Polk County. And I think they partnered with the state of Oregon on a Federal Lands Access grant for the improvements that they made out to the viewing station and the access to their headquarters there. And so that's a possibility too. Have them be the applicant or a co-applicant at least. So that's being pressed by them, or we could ask them to come in and give you their pitch on why they think that they really need a bridge there.
So the recommendation for the 30 to 40 foot passage, which is the bridge, was it based on any sort of study or existing environmental assessment of any kind, or was it?
So what it's based on is the active channel width, which is the width of the channel at ordinary high water.
Gotcha.
That's all being remade by this project, so their project that they're doing. So there's no natural channel out there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was a man-made channel before, and it's going to be a new man-made channel.
What is the diameter of the channel now, and what's the diameter of the culvert that's in?
It's a 48-inch culvert.
And the channel is how wide currently?
20 feet maybe. Yeah.
It's a 4-foot culvert.
Yeah.
High water out there lasts about, by this time, it's gone?
Because of some pools upstream and downstream that are probably created by Nutria or something else, water stays there. That's one of the reasons the culvert's in bad shape, because water just ponds there all year long. And that's, to me, when I think of fish passage problems, I think of high velocity or some kind of a vertical drop that the fish can't navigate. This has neither of those. And so if you go back and look at the spirit of the science of why did we develop these fish passage criteria, I'm not sure that there's a blockage there. I'm not a biologist, but it doesn't seem like it's a blockage to me. But right now we're at the beginning of that. So they're just looking specifically at the criteria and what the formula says and going that way.
What am I hearing from ODF and W? Because my other question for you is, okay, they're looking at a single area, a single project. What are the opportunity costs for the county in terms of those federal land access project possibilities countywide, right? we can only apply for so many and you only have the capacity to deliver so many or help deliver so many. So,
Correct. If not that one, there was nothing else on my radar for for this round of flap.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's all.
So the current channel is 20 feet and you said are they going to do work in the channel? Dig it out and widen it?
I don't know what they're widening, narrowing, whatever. They were going to send me a cross section for that. They may have, and didn't see the email yet, but in the discussions out there on site, you know, the numbers were being thrown around and it finally ended up where that opening width was going to need to be about 40 feet. You know, once you slope that back at a 3-to-1 slope, you're probably looking at something in the area of 50 to 60-foot bridge. That's pretty significant for a very low traveled.
What's the ADT on that? 15, 20?
No, it's
Probably high.
probably more than that.
It's all the bird watching and
Correct.
recreational activity up there. I don't know to the extent, but I know they've done quite a bit of earthwork downstream of the culvert, kind of removing some of the earthen dams, building berms and kind of more or less trying to free flow that stream more or less.
Person not opposed to it, but I wouldn't mind hearing from them as well.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife
US Fish and Wildlife, yeah, sorry.
can do that. And then what are your thoughts, feelings about the co-applicant status?
I'm okay with that. There's no match.
Oh, I'm animate about you better not apply for it alone. I don't support that. I
Would be a
couldn't.
co-applicant, right?
Yeah, co-applicant, sure.
Yeah.
Is that my statement would be, it's like, no, they own it. It's their ground.
Yeah.
They insist on it. Yeah, they're burning all our tax dollars on it, but I can point to them. But Polk County, this is way outside the lines for anything that we would do. And frankly, public access makes sense to me if we keep getting pushed and they don't build the bridge themselves. And they continue to push for, I think, highly irresponsible standards that we should just change the road, give it to them, say, you go fix it.
Echo those feelings 100%.
Okay. So the grant application is due, believe it's June 12th, 15th, for it's mid-June sometime. So we're kind of under the gun, you know, to get this done, but I'll try to see if I can, excuse me, get them in here next week.
Co-applicant. We'll agree.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Right. Thank you.
Any other non-listed items? He's adjourned.